Hello everyone, my name is Megan, and I'm going to be walking you through the Wagtail Starter Kit today. The Wagtail Starter Kit is a great way to get a Wagtail project up and going for the first time. It includes a lot of the basic things that most website projects need, so that you don't have to start completely from scratch. This tutorial will take about 15 to 30 minutes. You'll need a few things on your machine before we get going. Make sure that you have Python installed on your computer. If you don't have that one, you're not going to get very far. If you also need a code editor or an IDE and a terminal, whichever terminal you prefer. If you have no idea what those things are, you might want to go learn a few more things about what those terms mean and also give them a try, and then come back to this tutorial. You'll be better for it. If you want to do the full deployment with me today, you're going to need a fly.io account. Go ahead and sign up for that. It's free. We're not going to do anything that requires paid resources today. And also go ahead and install their command line tool while you're at it, because that'll make the deployment extra easy. All right, great. Go ahead and click on all the links down in the video description. If you need to install any of those things, hit pause and then come back here when you're ready. All ready? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and head into doing the Wagtail Starter Kit together. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you all what it looks like, what we're going to be working on. This is the Wagtail Starter Kit. It has a pretty standard news website structure to it, including like a headline area and a big old action button that all the marketing people love. It has a navigation menu, has a few different ways to display headings and numbers and CTAs, and also kind of a basic blog listing. It even has a handy dandy little switch between light mode and dark mode. It's super useful, and that's one of my favorite parts. All right, now that you see what we're going to be doing, let's head on over to GitHub. The link again is down in the video description, and we're going to use the Wagtail news template repository. I promise that's a starter kit. We're working on renaming it. Don't let that throw you for a loop. And pretty much we're going to follow everything that's said down here in the README directions. All right, so let's get going. I have VS Code open here. I have a blank directory that I'm calling Starter Kit Demo in here. And first things I'm going to do is double check that the version of Python I am using is compatible with the project. It's 3.13.1. That is definitely compatible with the Wagtail Starter Kit. If you have a lower version of Python 3 or you have Python 2 there for some reason, then you definitely want to investigate. Make sure you have a more recent version of Python installed before you proceed. All right, now we're going to add a Python virtual environment with Python-m venv, and I'm going to call this my project-env. And so this creates a virtual environment, and a virtual environment is kind of like a fence that goes around our project, and it protects the rest of our computer from all the dependencies that we're going to be installing inside this fence. It kind of contains the project, and if anything gets a little chaotic, it doesn't affect the rest of our machine. You definitely want to have that virtual environment. So you can see that we have it added here. However, it's not doing us much good because it's not turned on. So let's go ahead and switch it on. We're going to use the command source my project /env and then bin, not bun, and then activate. And that will switch on our virtual environment. You can see it's on with the change of env and the little parentheses there. Great. Now that that's installed, we're going to go ahead and install some things within that fence, within that virtual environment. So, very first thing I'm going to install is the most important thing, which is Wagtail, because that's the whole point of this. So, let's go ahead and do pip install Wagtail. It's going to run through a bunch of scripts to install things. You'll see a little message at the end reminding me that I need to update pip. I'll get to that eventually. Hopefully you are completely up to date and you won't see a message like that. Once we're there, I don't want to start my project in this directory, so I'm going to go ahead and change directories with the cd command and go into the my project directory. That's where I'm going to want my Wagtail project to live to make sure that everything works smoothly in this tutorial. And go ahead and head back to the repository so that you can copy and paste this next command. We're going to use the Wagtail start command to start up a fresh project. If you did Wagtail start completely by itself, it would give you a completely blank project, and we don't want to do that. We're going to use the template flag, which will pull in the starter kit and give you the starter kit to start with instead. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste that over, hit enter. And that should create the project that we're going to be working with. If you head over here and look, you'll see there's a lot more inside the My Project directory now. If you're familiar with the Django web framework at all, you will definitely see some things familiar in here, like the settings and other things. And there's a reason for that. Wagtail is built on top of Django. And Django is useful for doing a bunch of different things. And the great thing about Wagtail is pretty much anything you can do in Django, you can also do in Wagtail. Doesn't necessarily work vice versa. If you're not familiar with Django at all, then I definitely recommend getting familiar with Django. It's really, really, really cool. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to install the rest of our requirements. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this command here. So that we have all of our other dependencies that make this project go. And that'll go through a bunch of install scripts and install a bunch of different packages and things like that needed for our project. Great. Awesome. Everything's installed. Now we want to give you a project that has like some visible structure to it so that you can see kind of the things you can do with Wagtail. So we included a load data command that provides some test data so that you can kind of see how everything looks like without having to enter a bunch of data yourself. We put those in as make commands, so we're going to use make load dash data. And that's going to go ahead and run through a bunch of scripts, including migrations, which are changes being made to the database in this project. And those changes will pretty much tell the database how all the data should be structured inside of it. It's really super handy. It's one of the best features of Django. All right, now the data is in there. We have this project. It's on our computer. But where is it? Can we look at it? Can we do things with it? Not without turning it on first. So we're going to use the command make start to get the server going that will let us see our project. And you can go ahead and use this URL down here to open it up in your browser. And there you go. You have got the Wagtail starter kit on your machine. And you can do whatever you like with it. One thing I highly recommend doing is adding the /admin trail here and going in and logging into the back admin and trying a few different things there. We have a very secure user name and password combo for you. It's admin and password. Yes, so very secure. It's the worst password ever. Definitely do not leave this user in if you ultimately deploy this project to production. But we left it in there for demo purposes. And once you log in, you can get your first look at the Wagtail dashboard, which has like some of the most recent edits organized here. If you were working on a particular piece of content, it would show your most recent edits as a user. And then over here we have our toolbar, which includes the page tree for the project, along with like any images you store in Wagtail and documents. Snippets is an area where you can use reusable pieces of code. It's a very common area for like navigation menus and things like that. And there's also like some settings for forms and reports settings as well. If you want some more resources to learn about Wagtail, I also highly recommend checking out the help section. But let's look at the page tree a little bit here. Like if we open up this project, you can see that we included some standard data for you to look at. There are different types of pages in here, like a form page. We showed a template for kind of a standard page as well as an index page. And so a typical index page you'll see is kind of a blog, which has a bunch of different blog articles nesting underneath it. That's what this big green arrow is for. You'll see lots of very cleverly named blog articles down here. Although I find this one to be clever, to be honest. There are more mackerel in Kent than people in China. That always makes me smile. So when I open this up, you can kind of see it has everything that a blog page tends to need, like a title and the author and the publication date. It also opened up to show the preview menu here, which is a really useful feature for Wagtail. Like if I wanted to go ahead and change the, mackerel to salmon or something like that. So let's say I change that. I have no idea if there's salmon in Kent. Probably not. But so you can see that it made the live update here in the preview feature. It's really, really handy. You can also direct it to do different displays as well so that you can check the mobile and the desktop versions and all that. It's super, super useful. All right. So down here, I definitely want to encourage you to play around with adding different types of content. This is the stream field section where you can add different blocks and try out adding CTAs and things like that. Definitely go ahead, play around, do different things in here. Get a feel for Wagtail. It definitely gives you an idea whether you enjoy Wagtail. And you can also start digging into a few different features we have, like our checker feature, which includes some content metrics and also some accessibility checks. We also have commenting, history, all sorts of different features that you can dig into. All right. So now we have this project, it's living on our computer, but what if we want to show it to other people? Well, then we're going to have to deploy it to a hosting service. And that's where fly.io comes in. All right, so to do that, I'm going to head over here and go ahead and kill our server by doing Control-C. And that should make the server stop. And once the server stopped, I'm going to go ahead and use some fly commands to launch this project on fly.io. So we'll go ahead and use fly launch here. And I definitely recommend following along with the GitHub instructions at this point because, it's a little hard to remember what the different settings should be. So when you're asked to copy the configuration to a new app, you definitely want to say yes. It's going to go ahead and do that. Now you can tweak some of the settings you want, like some things are going to be chosen automatically for you, like the app name and the region. If you want to change any of that stuff, go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and hit no to proceed with this. And it's going to go ahead and go through a building script. Gonna do some Docker stuff. One thing I really like about Fly is how smooth this tends to go. Oh, excuse me, bit of a cough there. And, I'm kind of inviting myself for some pain here if it decides to choke all of a sudden. But I think it's going to go ahead and be fine. So it's going to go ahead and boot up a machine, definitely copy everything over to Fly. And in another few seconds here, we should see the final name of our app. Ah, great. Awesome. So yes, our app has been deployed. Amazing. However, do not click that URL right away. If you do that, you're going to wind up with a big old internal server error. And the reason for that is because Wagtail and Django require a secret key. They can't run on a production environment without it. It's a very bad idea to run on a production environment without it. So we got one more command that we need to add here. And that's going to be fly secrets set. And we're going to name this secret underscore key. And add an equals sign, and we're going to need some parentheses here. I'm going to go ahead and use this handy dandy website, which is linked in the GitHub, to get a copy of a secret key. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here, and then I'm going to add another set of parentheses on the other side, and I'm going to hit enter. And we should see some updating from Fly. You can also update this and add this secret through the UX in Fly.io's dashboard if you want to as well. That's definitely an option if that's your preference for managing your secrets. I just find that the command line is a pretty easy way to do that. All right, awesome, great. Now everything's been updated. I'm going to go over to my Fly dashboard here and have a look. We can go ahead and make this a bit bigger for everybody. I'm going to refresh it so that we have the newest version here. Yes, solitary darkness. Yes, I'm going to have to change it to the dark mode for that version. All right, I'm going to click on that. And then if we go to this URL here, there is our Wagtail starter kit. Now it looks a little bit different, and that's because the test data is not loaded here. So if you want the test data loaded, we have a command that you can put in the command line here. So it's a little SSH command. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that one here and add that in. And by the time everything is copied over, you see a reference to the bakery stores. That references our Wagtail bakery demo. We'll probably have to update this one to add something about fish. But when I pull up the project here and refresh it, we should see our test data. Awesome. And now it's live on a hosting site, and you can add a redirect, and you can start adding content, and you can share it with other people, and it can be visible to the public if you want. You can also go ahead and play around some more with the admin if you want to here. It would help if I spelled it right. Definitely don't spell it S-dim. You really should spell it right and do admin. Right now, I still have a very bad admin and password combo here. Highly recommend you delete that if you want to use this site long term. You definitely want to make sure that it's secure. This site is not very secure at all because you guys have already seen my secret. Ooh. All right. So that's the Wagtail starter kit. And so now you should have a version on your computer, and you can deploy it to fly.io. And now you can dig into the code if you want and make any changes that you want to it. You can try adding content. You can try adding new fields. You can try adding blocks. If you want to do some more cool things with Wagtail or learn more cool things about Wagtail, definitely visit wagtail.org, where you can learn more about Wagtail and the things you can do with it. Thank you so much for being here today and for doing the tutorial. I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all more. Take care.